Hi everyone, my name is Monwar. In my last video, I gave an overview on Oracle Data Guard, uh, which is a disaster recovery solution. In this video, I will use Arman utility to create the physical standby database and then verify its operation. So let's go through this Oracle document here. Um, If you see here that section 3.5, this is a Oracle Database 21C document link, like document that I'm using. So Oracle 12.2 onwards, there is a feature with dbca command we can use to create a standby database. But still there are limitation with the multi-tenant database, like if you see that primary multi-tenant database or with Oracle RAC database. So now let's go through my lab session. Here DevOps is my primary database server and OEL7 is my standby database server. So let's connect to the database, primary database. So primary database name is EAYMD. Now there are few requirements that we need to set up into primary database for creating standby database. As an example, like logging mode, reader transport, enable archiving. So in a data guard configuration, we always want that the changes which are happening on the primary database to be replicated to the standby database, and therefore we need to enable force logging. So first we can check, and we need to enable that force logging. So we are going to execute command for that. We'd like to also put flashback on, which is good, or in my case, because I have put that flashback on before, therefore I'm getting this message that flashback database logging is already turned on. This is good for if something happened and we like failover, we do failover, then we can do easily failback. I will talk about that in my future videos. So now after this we need to create standby redo logs. So standby redo logs is needed for the database role transition. So if you'd like to primary database to transition to this standby database role, then for that we need this one, and it's an Oracle best practice. So to create standby redo logs, it's always recommended that create one more group than the redo log group and use the same size. So in my case, I got three groups, but you see that I have got only one member. But it's always best practice to use two members, as this is my lab environment. Therefore, I set that up each member in a group. So here I am going to create four standby redo logs group. So I have created log group. Like it created another four groups, group 4, 5, 6, 7. These are standby log groups. Next, we need to set some parameters relate to like or for physical for standby database into the primary site. So the here if you see that as an example that it's showing that receive redo, he set that up already. Now here this section you see that all the database parameters that we need to set that up. So here we set that up remote login password to exclusive mode. Exclusive means that the password file can only be used in a by a single database. And here you see that log archive config. I set that up in my case that you see that DB unique name, they are separated by comma. So with PRM extension is for my primary database and STB is for my standby database here. So under log archive config, you see that I put DG underscore config and in bracket it's just giving two database services name, my primary database services name and standby database services name. So next we are going to set up log archive destination. So log archive destination is to ensure that the changes are done in memory and also shared the service. So here I set that up that valid for this clause references redo log type and database role. So you see that I put all log files. All log files means this archive log destination is valid for archiving either online redo log files or standby redo log files, and all roles means this destination is valid when the database has either the primary database role or the standby database role. So this is mainly for roles, and first part is for log files. Now file server. So file server is this is mainly for switch over or failover. This parameter takes effect when we do a role switch, and this is my primary database server. So therefore I put the service name for the standby database Then file management auto. So what it does when you put that file management auto, so it enables if we change, like if we create any data files or any operating system file addition, um, then or deletion on the primary database are replicated to the standby database, and this parameter is normally set on the standby database. Because of role switch, it is better to set into primary database. Now I am going to set up a giving a unique name for the primary database to separate from the standby database. So you see that here PRM is which is for primary. Uh, so I'm giving this name for primary side. So to reflect this change, we need to restart this database now. So database has been restarted. So now we have modified some database parameters into the primary side um, for creating a physical standby database. So now validate those parameters that we modified or we set that up. I'm going to execute a query. And here we see that a DB unique name and the log archive destination, we set that up. File server. So now we need to set up network configuration. Um, uh, so we need to modify two configurations files. One is listener.ora and tnsnums.ora. Here you see that listener.ora file. I put an entry, static entry. If you look there, that primary DB unique name underscore DGMGRL. A static entry is needed for the I can set like broker, or if I set that up uh, remotely connect to the database. So if we shut down the database and by the broker, mainly this is good for when we'll in future videos I'll set up broker and then I can show you how that is actually working. It looks for listener, but if my listener is down, then how it will work. So it can, if we set this up static listener, it can get the information from there and um, start up this database. And we need to do the same changes, listener.ora and tnsnames.ora, both primary server side and standby database server side. So static listener is needed when switch over from the primary database to the physical standby database, again to reinstate of failed primary database after our manual, if we do a failover. Other good point is like conversion of a snapshot standby database back to physical standby database. So we have modified our changes. Now we are going to restart listener, or you can run that reload listener. Now we are going to make a copy of SP file from the primary database for the standby database. So I have created a copy of SP file. I'm going to copy this parameter file to the standby database server. Now I also need the password file. Now there is if we do modify password file into primary side, it will automatically reflect to the other side. So in my case, as you see that database version is 21. So but all the process that I am doing is still same for 12.2 onwards. You can follow the same steps. Even 12.1. So we have copied copy a parameter file and password file to the standby database server. Now let's connect to the standby database server. In my case, standby server is OEL75. So first we need to create an Aura tab entry. So Aura tab entry has been done. And now we need to modify the parameter file that we copied from the primary database server to the standby database server. So first make sure that you got all the required directories. So I have already created all the required directories before. So the main parameters that we need to modify here, as you know, the DB unique name is different. So DB unique name, file server, and log archive destination. There is a DB unique name. So here we are changing that DB unique name. I put it here that extension that with DB name, that is STB. Then here that log archive destination one, you see that DB unique name. So we need to modify that one. So I'm changing that. This is actually services. So we have modified the parameters. Now we'll start our standby database, and based on this parameter file, so this is the file that we modified as per our standby database. So standby database is up in like no mount state now. So now what we will do, we'll use arm and duplicate to create a standby database. Oh no, before that what we can do, we can check the validate. So let's validate the connection from for both primary and standby databases from both servers. So let's go to primary database server. Let's copy the command because it's I put a notepad. So yeah. So I checked that primary database. It's good from the primary database server, and this is my uh, standby database entry. You get a message that I think listener is not running. So let's start the listener on the standby database server. So now let's check again. So we can talk both primary and standby databases from the primary database server. Now let's do the same check from the standby database server. Yes, we can connect to the primary database. And we can connect to the standby instance fine. So we have successfully tested that we can connect both databases from both uh, uh, servers. So now we are creating an armament session from the standby database server and executing duplicate command to to create a physical standby database. So I am going to pause here. I'll be back soon. So I'm back. Duplicate has been completed. In the meantime, I have also started the MRP process. And let's see the data guard processes here. So we see that all the data guard processes are there and running. Now from primary database side, we see the database role. As you know that this is primary database, so primary database role. So far we have created successfully our physical standby database. Now I'm going to do a log switch and see the logs are transferring to the standby side. So do a log switch to the primary database and validate to the standby database side. So you can see that it's passed through the to the standby side here. So we have successfully completed to create a physical standby database from the primary database. Now here I'm showing you that if you see that RFS is not running, just to make sure that you set that up log archive destination 2 with the proper service name and DB unique name there, and also make sure that that destination is state 2 on primary side is not defer, should be enabled. So now I will do a lab test or lab session for switchover and failover using SQL Plus. So after configuring DataGuard, database would be either primary and standby database role. And we can do a role switch without loss of data or without resetting logs, which is known as a switchover. So for switchover, just to make sure that we have got log archive destination 1 and second destination, that can be any just state like number 2, number 3, there are up to 29, you see that one. So you can set that up whichever you choose. It's not mandatory that you have to choose dest 2. So you can do dest 10 and just make sure that the same, if you choose dest 10, then you need to use that dest state 10 to enable that one. So make sure that you set up both the sites, both for primary and standby site, first log archive destination and second log archive destination, um, and also state is enabled. So we need to run that validate command first. So we need to validate that our target standby is ready for switchover with the verify option. Oh, it's a typo, I think. Oh no, it's good, but it's give me a warning message. So let's check the alert log. Okay, because I said that delay attribute will be ignored. That's good because it's real-time apply being used, so it's an warning message because so it's fine for me. I think maybe in my previous setup I just set the delay parameter and it is reading that delay value. So we have verify switchover readiness. Now let's do switchover. So what we have to run the command that alter database switchover to standby database. Let's open a log session so that we can see what is happening. If you are interested and you would like to know um, which processes are taking place for switching over to the standby database as a primary. So switchover has been completed as you see from this session. So, now let's check the status. Okay. Yeah, from alert log we see that one. So we need to connect again here because this database become standby now. So we are going to start the standby database. Here you see that instance shutdown complete. So OS level. So we are going to start up. So this is my old primary database and it became standby now after role switch. So it's a physical standby now. Now let's go to standby database server and my standby database will be now primary database. So let's check that one. So it's a primary database, but it goes into mounted. So I need to open this database now. So database is now primary and read write mode. Now for our testing, what we can do, we can do another switchover. We can say that switch back. So switch over to make actual primary as a primary database and actual standby, like actual means my beginning where I have started, standby to make it standby database. So as my standby server database is now my primary database, so let's do a switchover. You can do like verify, you can run verify, or but try that one to see you that what the error message or something are we getting or not. So I didn't do verify just for testing. Okay, let's do verify. It's better. Okay, you see that the message that redo apply is not running because I did switch over, but I did not start redo apply. So redo apply process was not running. Therefore, we had got that error message. So let's check that one. and we see that MRP process is not there. So start that manage recovery process. So now execute the same command again to verify, and it looks good. Now let's do a switchover again. I'm trying to get to see the logs, but we have already saw in our last session, because this changes very quick, or it's already changed, so I do not need to go that. Okay, let's go back to my database session, SQL session. Yes, after role switch it goes down when role switch from primary to standby database. So we have to start this database. But if we see into which database became primary, we check it here. It is showing that lost connection. So okay, we have to connect again. And if we check here, it is mount mode, I think. Yes, it's mount mode. So we have to open this database that we saw previously. So it's just second time testing to see what is actually happening. Even with 21C, release 21C, when we do role switch or switchover using SQL commands. So we are going to start up our standby database. So if we see the process, we will see, yes, it's on read-only mode. So we'll see that MRP process is not running. So we have to start that MRP process. So now you see that MRP process is running. So here we have successfully completed switchover testing. So in next section, we will check that failover. And to simulate that one, I have shut down my primary database. I could stop that, I could kill that some process, Pimon process, like as an example. But anyway, I shut down this database, and if I would like to make like something happened to my primary database server, and now I am going to make a standby server, like database standby database on a standby server as a primary database for business continuity. So first I stopped managed recovery process. So you can see that MRP is not running. Now just simple command alter database, activate standby database. So now let's see the database status. Okay, let's restart, because ultimately when activating it will, you see that message database not open, it will do behind the scene. So I'm just stopping and starting this database. And we see that now standby database is acting as a primary database. So we have successfully tested, first we created physical standby database, then we tested switchover and failover. And in my next video I will go through all this, like I'll set up DataGuard broker, and we'll use DataGuard broker to switch over and failover, which is much simpler than this way of doing using SQL plus. I hope you got a very good understanding of physically standby database, switchover and failover. Thank you. Thanks for watching. See you next video.